power, streets in flames, forgotten heroes, who knows their names? Broken future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's August 27th, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. We have a very special guest on the line, Jason Bassler, co-founder of the Free Thought Project. I don't want to leave him hanging very long. Quickly, there was a school shooting again today. We'll get his take on that. But we're going to go over scientific dictatorship technocracy and know your rights. All this madness coming down upon us very quickly here now. Let's go ahead and bring Jason on. How you doing this Wednesday, Jason?
Hey, Sam, I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on, my friend.
Thank you, man, for coming on. I reference your X posts quite a bit on my broadcast about this whole Palantir situation. It felt we were duped. We were duped by DOGE. It was red meat for the conservatives. We're going to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse and shrink the federal government down. And turns out they did a bait and switch. The whole project was to bring in Palantir, consolidate all of our data. I imagine they have like a dashboard and it's called Foundry. They have a bunch of softwares, but they say they put Foundry, Palantir software into a bunch of federal government agencies. I imagine a dashboard where they just click your name or your social, however they identify you, and boom, your whole life story. They know more about you than you know about yourself.
It does feel like that's coming down the pike, my friend. And unfortunately, all signs are pointing to that being a reality. And, you know, there's something like 30 different agencies and departments now that Palantir has contracted with. And it's continuing to grow. I think it was another $10 billion contract just recently with the U.S. Army. And it's just the tentacles continue to expand, not only just in the U.S., but throughout the globe. Let me see if I could bring up the list of countries here. UK, Germany, France, Denmark, Norway, Switzerland, Israel, Ukraine, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Canada, and even NATO. All these companies are, all these countries are entangling themselves in either with, certain types of pre-crime AI software. As we know, Israel is a big sponsor of Palantir as well, in the sense that they do outsource a lot of their data and information through the Palantir algorithms and data sets.
They're using lavender to assassinate people.
Correct. Yeah. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, man. There's so much to get into when it comes back to all this Palantir stuff, including, the close ties with Palantir's co-founder, Peter Thiel, and the CIA, how that was all formed. And the first, customer that it ever had for several years was the CIA, founded by both Alex Karp and Peter Thiel, of course. Karp has an interesting character as well. He has a lot of weird idiosyncrasies to him. Apparently, it's rumored he doesn't even have a cell phone. He lives out in isolated out in the middle of nowhere. Yet he's building this digital surveillance state, panopticon for all of us.
And all the tech bros, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, they're all building all these underground bunkers, and they say for societal collapse. Like, what are these guys? What are they doing, man? What are they doing? It's insane.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I don't think that's ever been out of vogue necessarily for these elites. They've always kind of been interested in these underground bunkers. But when the top elites, I think, there was quite a few of them on there. Zuckerberg, he has his compound in, what is it, Maui, I believe, Kauai. So, yeah, I think they're probably understanding.
They're up to no good, right? And they're like, at some point, the peasants may revolt here. So we have to build these crazy underground bunkers to protect ourselves from all the wrongdoings and evils we're doing to society.
Correct. Yeah, exactly, man. And, it goes beyond just Palantir as well. I've actually been talking a lot about these flock cameras. I don't know if that's something that's been on your radar.
I covered it a little bit. And that's one place where to not blackpill, as the kids say, where at local level, the community rallies and goes and petitions, protests, tells their city council, their mayor, that, hey, we don't want these spy cameras all over the place tracking us, the license plate readers, spy cameras, all this surveillance technology. And some places have said, hey, wait, okay, maybe we're not going to implement this full-on surveillance police state on you.
Indeed. Yeah. Sedona, Arizona is one of those states just recently, or excuse me, cities that just recently pushed back. I believe Derek Rose covered that on an article just recently. But I mean, that is exactly the localism. That's what we need. We need more people kind of getting interactive with their own city councils, showing up to talk about these things. And just a quick overview of, flock cameras, just in case your audience isn't familiar with these things. The way I've been trying to explain them to people is, imagine there's a cop on your corner that's logging every car, every face in the car, every bumper sticker that passes. Now imagine that there's an army doing it on every block corner of your city 24/7. And that's basically what these flock cameras are. There's something close to around 90,000 of them across the country in over 2,000 cities, 42 different states. And basically they're automatic license plate readers that snap pictures, document everything, where you're going, where you're coming from, how often you're there, the condition of your car, the color of your car. I mean, all these different things kind of go into these data sets that eventually are sold and can be tapped into via law enforcement. In fact, we just found out recently that not only are these automated license plate readers, but they're actually being turned into real-time surveillance cameras as well, that we've seen law enforcement across the country tapping into. And speaking of that, Border Patrol has also been tapping into it, and ICE, using different law enforcement agencies' login information. So there's a lot of kind of illegal action going on underneath the scene here, or under the scenes, regarding what these cameras are being used for. And I'm concerned about them. In fact, if you don't mind me carrying on here a little bit, they're already in our neighborhoods, they're in our highways or freeways.
But it's for public safety, Jason. Are you a pro-crime commie? What's going on here?
Yeah, that's exactly how they're trying to sell it to us, of course. But they're in the mall parking lots now. They're in Kaiser Permanente parking lots, Lowe's parking lots. Forbes even did a article a few months back about being on FedEx trucks, attached to FedEx trucks. And apparently they had some type of inside source for that, even though FedEx is denying it. So there are a lot of concerning issues. On top of that, they recently bought, in October of last year, a company called Aerodome. Basically, they make drones that act like flying first responders that automatically launch when 911 call comes in, and basically is there to give police a live aerial view. But I think at the end of the day, what these are going to be used for is eventually surveillance of our citizens, of Americans. But they have thermal imaging, night vision, all types of stuff. So, and it all will eventually get tapped into a Palantir type of ecosystem, which we've already seen that there are some overlap between some law enforcement agencies and Palantir, with contracting with both Palantir and Flock.
It couldn't happen here, even though we just lived through the last 5.5 years of the medical intervention that was on full display for everybody to see. But the tyranny can't happen here. Here's some good news. I just searched the Flock real quickly, and this story came out of Patch, and they say Evanston deactivates license plate cameras, terminates contract with Flock Safety. So that just happened in Illinois, Evanston, Illinois. But the reason they said that they're discontinuing the contract with Flock Safety, the license plate reader company here, is because they're sharing it with ICE. They're sharing the data with ICE, and they're pushing back there against the Fed's immigration enforcement in Illinois. It's going to come to a head, it feels like, with Trump floating the idea of sending National Guard troops to Chicago. What do you think of this idea, as troops are actively on the streets of Washington, D.C. right now?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if that's going to happen. I know he just recently passed an executive order activating the National Guard under his direct supervision if there is, I guess, some type of call for it. You know,
he says crime emergency. He just declares there's a crime emergency and we got to send in the National Guard. But my question with it is that's all well and good, and there is major crime going on. But why are none of the local and state officials whose responsibility it is? Why do we even have government to administrate the public infrastructure? They tell us, but if they failed at such a level where now the National Guard is required to get a crime emergency under control, shouldn't they face some accountability, recalls, being fired, being arrested for corruption? But yet none of the local officials I've seen in DC, our first example of this, have faced any repercussions from their complete and utter failure to the point where there needs to be a crime emergency declared and National Guard troops sent in.
Yeah, and that's if we want to buy this narrative that there is some type of crime wave going on in these cities, which I'm having a hard time. I've seen statistics saying that, you know, that there is a 30-year crime low actually going on in Washington, D.C. And of course, statistics could be cooked either way, so it is very difficult to really understand what's going on. But at the same time, I think a lot of these stories of especially illegal immigrants committing crimes do get amplified just by the right-wing media, who is looking to push these narratives for various reasons.
Amplified by our own government. If you go on, I go to the White House, Respond, DHS, and it's just nonstop all day propaganda. Like I never seen anything like it before.
Well, especially if they're the people who've created this problem in the first place, to expect them to actually be able to solve it and fix it is just delusional, you know? And so, I mean, we have to be kind of taking things a step back here and look at things logically. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people get wrapped up in the team sport politics. They get too couched in one side, and then they start believing all the fear mongering that's going around. We got to also understand, guys, we can't believe a word that's coming out of Trump's mouth. He's been lying since 2015, 2016. And that's a fact. You know, everything he says is an action to continue to push the divide and conquer, to continue to push the fear mongering. And a lot of this, you know, I would say is a big distraction from the Epstein files. I mean, all this stuff, the flag burning, you know, we could get into that as well. All this stuff has been at a fever pitch since he decided to sit on these Epstein files, since he's decided to hide the actual Epstein files themselves. And, you know, he's been talking about how he's going to clean up San Francisco and, you know, these other cities like Chicago. Well, how about if we clean up government of Epstein clients first? I mean, how about if we start there? Or the White House of these aardvarks that seem to be prevalent and all over the place, right? Or the Pentagon war criminals. I mean, how about if we just start at square one and not get so caught up in the culture war stuff that tends to divide us more than it should? Congress
are the criminals right there. I've been saying on the show, hey, all of you guys go turn yourself into the FEMA camps, immigration detention centers. And then I would believe that you're genuine if you guys all turned yourselves in and then resigned and said that we found all the criminals. It was us, the government.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's always been. You know, they've always been the biggest criminal. I think I made a tweet this morning talking about the eugenics movement in the 30s and how 60,000 people were sterilized. And I mean, we could talk about all types of.
They were sterilizing women in California prisons in the 80s still.
That's correct. Yeah. And we could talk about all types of other experiments that the government has, you know, placed on the American people beyond MK Ultra and all these other ones that happen to be a little bit more popular in the mainstream now. The government has always been the criminal.
Here's one for you. Here's Trump yesterday again, rubbing it in everybody's face. I don't know where MAGA is on this, but praising Operation Warp Speed. Trump yesterday,
that's
saying
right,
how wonderful it is. Let's watch this short clip.
Despite COVID, which was a very unfortunate situation for the whole world, we did a great job with it. Never got the credit for the job we did. Operation Warp Speed, people say, is one of the greatest achievements ever in politics or in the military, because it was almost a military procedure. But everybody, including Putin, said that Operation Warp Speed, what you did with that, nobody can believe it. And we did a great job, but it was a horrible pall over our country. We had a very dark cloud over the world. That was a very, very bad thing that came out of Wuhan, which I said it came out of Wuhan. That's where it came from. And China suffered greatly, but everybody did. But we We did a good job with that, as good as you can possibly do, and we came back, and now we're stronger than ever before.
It was horrible. They did medical martial law during the medical intervention period on the whole world, essentially, but specifically here in America. It was insane. You were in California during this time, right? People don't understand how insane it was here in California, with the road signs. I mean, literally, they made it our whole life. Like, you couldn't forget about it, even if you didn't watch television. It was everywhere, just ramming it down our throats here. And Trump's still praising it, tone deaf to his own base. MAGA don't like it. He don't care. Literally mocking MAGA right there.
Yeah, absolutely out of touch with his own base. It seems comical at this point. I don't know quite what the strategy is. You'd think somebody would be tapping him at this point and be like, hey, like, you know, nobody's into this guy. Like, I know you're trying to still alter, you know, this revisionist sense of history that you're trying to place upon the world, as in you're being the hero once again, right? But it's not lining up with reality. And I think most of his base, yeah, completely are against it. But it also kind of still tracks with this Project Stargate stuff that he was, you know, touting in the beginning of the administration back in January. They were talking about $500 billion going towards big tech, including people like Google and Amazon to track our health info. All these new mRNA vaccine developments. We still haven't heard too much about the developments and, you know, what's going on with that Project Stargate. He said it was going to be privately funded $500 billion, but I have a hard time believing that, especially now after he just spent I don't know if it was disclosed exactly, but the 10% of the Intel that was just purchased by the federal government. And just recently too, I don't know if you happen to catch this, Sam, but they just now were talking about the Pentagon weighing equity stakes in defense contractors like Lockheed. Howard Lutnick said recently.
I have it right here. Let's play that clip. Yeah. Trump's Pentagon holding monstrous decisions about taking equity stakes in military defense contractors, says old Epstein's neighbor, Howard Lutnick. Let's watch this crazy clip.
Shouldn't the U.S. government say, you know what, we use Palantir services, we would like a piece of Palantir. We use Boeing services, we would like a piece of Boeing. There are a lot of businesses that do business with the U.S. government that benefit by doing business with the U.S. government. I guess the question is, where's the line?
Oh, there's a monstrous discussion about defense. I mean, Lockheed Martin makes 97% of their revenue from the U.S. government. They are basically an arm of the U.S. government. They make exquisite munitions. I mean, amazing things that can knock a missile out of the air when it's coming towards you. But what's the economics of that? I'm going to leave that to my Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These guys are on it and they're thinking about it. But I tell you what, there's a lot of talking that needs to be had about how do we finance our munitions acquisitions. I think a lot of that is talking. And now you have the right people in the jobs and Donald Trump at the head thinking about what is the right way to do it.
So it's not socialism when MAGA does it, apparently.
Right. Yeah. Well, it is. It's indeed fascism. It's socialism. It's all the above. It's corporatism, cronyism. But we are, you know, entering a new age here. It isn't just the cronyism that we're used to.
The golden age. Trump has told us this is the golden age of America here that we're living under.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm still waiting to see the fruits of that. He keeps telling us that the gas prices have gone down too. And if you're in California, I think we've all know that, especially in California, but other places too. Nobody's really seen that. But
you got your $5,000 DOGE check, didn't you?
No, I'm still waiting for that one too. But no, it does feel like it is moving towards this technocratic super surveillance state, as I call it, and all these things, even just the incrementally trying to acclimate us to this. I mean, who knows if that's going to happen, but even Lutnick just saying it, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it into our heads that this is the move. This is where we're going. But, you know, it doesn't really fall too far from the tree, with what somebody like Alex Karp was just saying. And, you know, we were talking about him a few minutes ago. He's the CEO of Palantir. He said we should immediately have a law that all technologies produced in the US will be available to the US government. That's what Alex Karp is saying. And, Lutnick is right. What is it? 98% of, all of Lockheed Martin's sales are to the US government. So, yeah, indeed, they are an arm. But, what happens when that other 2% drops? That's when things are going to get interesting. We already thought that the war machine was bad enough, and bloodthirsty enough, but I'd only imagine it's going to get worse.
Trump's floating the idea, and I keep telling the audience here, our audience is smart, they know, but there's no good guys in this. So now Trump is saying, and obviously George Soros is a bad guy, but so's Trump. This is what Trump's saying: go after George Soros with RICO. George Soros and his wonderful radical left son should be charged with RICO because of their support of violent protests and much more all throughout the United States of America. And so what do you think of this? Is he going to go after George Soros with organized crime RICO?
Again, I'm having a hard time believing that this is anything but a big distraction. This is just another dog whistle for his base. This is just the posturing. It's all theatrics and optics, man. This is what he does. He's the king of it. He's the
look over there. There's no Epstein. Epstein's a Democrat hoax, Jason.
He's not just the art of the deal guy. He's the art of the distraction guy. We got to keep that in mind, guys. He is an expert at this. So don't believe anything he says. Everybody hates Soros. The left even hates Soros, and at least the people that I happen to speak with on the left. And it does seem like there are reasons why he's continuing to, put up these types of fronts with these types of platitudes, man. I do think it is a big distraction.
Well, they keep the director of national intelligence, Gabbard, rogue ex-woman lady. She's every day putting out, we're going after the weaponization of government, all of the intelligence agencies, Brennan, Clapper, all these jokers. We're going to get them. I'm not holding my breath that they're going to get all of these people they're violating our rights right now, spying on us. It's all going to these NSA data centers. That's kind of fallen under the radar. There's all that still going on as well.
That's true. Yeah, these people are not necessarily rooted in principle, unfortunately. And I think at one point, Gabbard was decent on anti-war stuff, but, she folded as soon as she got into the Trump administration, too. I mean, what was it, 6 weeks before Trump bombed Iran? There was reports from her office saying that there actually wasn't any type of nuclear development there. And then she changes the script a few days after Trump bombs Iran. I mean, it's just comical. And we're looking at a regime here that this is like, stuff that we haven't seen necessarily on this scale, as far as just the pure hubris and arrogance, I would say, as far as just what they're trying to pull here and lying to our faces. And yeah, Trump is a great salesman, but at the same time, I don't think a lot of people are buying it. I think the red pill MAGA are having a really hard time with a lot of this stuff. Now, there's still the MAGA loyalists who are, latching on to every word. They're buying every narrative. They accept every agenda, including the Palantir agenda. But I do feel like there is hopefully a segment, a branch of people who woke up to the medical freedom movement during COVID. There were the people who started to see the writing on the wall as far as a bigger agenda with the WEF and the 2030 agenda. And so I have hope that those people are still kind of searching for the truth. They're not buying all the rhetoric and propaganda. Fingers crossed.
Big fingers crossed. There was a school shooting today. Let's briefly cover that. Tragically, 2 children were killed and 17 hurt in Minneapolis school shooting. The FBI is investigating it as a hate crime, and it looks like it's being reported that the shooter was a transgender. And we're going to devolve back into the culture war, pointing the fingers. What do we do about the school shootings here without? I guess we're just going to turn public schools into prisons now, essentially. What do you think about the school shooting issue? What do we do about it? Homeschool?
Did you say now we're going to turn public schools into prisons now? I mean, they've
literal, even
okay,
worse.
All right. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Maybe the body scanners for the TSA next. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's some type of, cronyist contract for those companies, which,
Well, I've seen where they said real-time drone response.
I've seen that as well. In
mhm.
fact, that was something I was going to speak on. Yeah, I've seen that being pushed more in my feed and the algorithms. And, actually, that seems like a pretty decent response. But again, that's just kind of acclimating us to this technocratic state, drones in the sky. I mean, if they're only deployed when there is some type of school emergency, school shooter scenario, then that would be one thing.
But as you know, we give them an inch and they always take a mile. Oh, it's always for this. It's always double meaning, double purpose, and it's always on the surface. Oh, that looks legitimate, and they have nefarious means always behind it and a double agenda going on, as with DOGE, right?
Sure.
So,
well, I'd be interested to hear if this guy was on or gal, or I guess however we want to reference the shooter, if they were on the FBI's radar. A lot of times we know that to be the case.
That's the alleged shooter. What? My question is, with all the surveillance state, why can't, and they individual was posting all over the interwebs, making threats. They have a manifesto. The whole routine that we see, to me, I have a hard time believing it. Like these are like MK Ultra type mind control victims that they can trigger whenever they need another distraction. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't even know what Paddock, the cause was behind Stephen Paddock, the Vegas shooters, what his incentives or motives were. And so, the idea that we're ever going to get to the bottom of some of these things, I think, is maybe a little naive. I mean, hopefully that's the case, but if they are false flags, which it seems like all, signs point to that the Vegas shooting was, we've covered that in depth on the Free Thought Project, especially our podcast. We've had experts analysis, examining the ear structure of the shooter and the Stephen Paddock and stuff like that. And we've gotten down to the nitty gritty, looking at
the mysterious deaths of all these witnesses that went to that concert. There was a bunch of people. Correct. That just mysteriously died. We don't know what happened.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, there's too much evidence. And unfortunately, we never, really found out what happened with that one. So, and we're still kind of trying to figure out what happened with the Butler assassination as well, right? The shooter behind that. We still don't have a lot of information about that person. So I feel like these things are staged. I don't think that's completely out of the question. I do feel like they have slowed down considerably compared to the Biden administration years. Now, if there is agenda behind that, I'd be kind of curious, because it did feel like there was a push behind strengthening the gun laws, the gun grabbers, the red flag laws, stuff like that during the Biden administration. But we haven't seen as many, or maybe they're just not being publicized as much. But we know that the media loves, talking about these things. So I hard pressed to feel that it's actually the latter. But
here's what they say. They say allegedly the shooter was posting this. He wrote on his part of his weapon there, kill Donald Trump, RIP, and tear, allegedly. So it just looks all, and allegedly he didn't like Israel as well, is what they're saying. He, she, they, them, however they go about identifying themselves, attack this Catholic school tragically. But yeah.
It does feel like it has all the ingredients and recipe to be some type of false flag, especially with the transgender narrative. And not to say it is, right? We still got to use our discernment, guys. But when it sounds like a duck, when it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it might be a duck. So
it's very sketchy. Okay, I just wanted to cover that because it happened today. What else do we got? We got a lot more, actually. Yeah, back to, what do you think of these immigrant detention centers? To me, they're just FEMA camps by another name. And say they do, there's now over 300, how many? I looked it up, like 340 something now active, and they're bringing on new ones online every day, repurposing old shut down jails, old shut down prisons. Say they do fulfill, and I don't think they ever will, meet their goal. They say they're going to do this mass deportation, 20 million. Who knows what the real number is of illegal aliens in the country? Can't they easily put political dissidents or anybody they deem, quote, a threat to public safety into these immigrant detention centers. That's what my fear is, that they will easily transition for other uses here now, and not just rounding up criminal illegal aliens.
Well, there's been echoes of, FEMA camps within the truth community for decades now, and, how they could be used, why they would be used. And, it wasn't too long ago that we saw Australia put, COVID dissidents into such things like these concentration camps, if you will. I know they didn't call it that.
Humanitarian quarantine camps, Jason.
Right. Yeah, they had a fancy name, of course. So, I am concerned, especially when we start looking at some of these quotas that the Trump administration has been pushing. I think it was originally 1,800 quotas. I think it got pushed up. If sometimes you end up reading so much, it's hard to remember all the specific details, but I think it ended up being somewhere around 2,500 arrests a day for ICE and finding illegal immigrants. And that's, as you can imagine, that's going to be messy. There's going to be a lot of shortcuts. There's going to be a lot of people who don't get their due process. But on top of that, it's going to end up, needing a lot of people who are caged. And so where else to put them? Now, I did just hear that there was a judge that shut down the alligator Alcatraz, I believe.
Briefly, it's like back and forth in court.
Okay,
yeah.
Sure. But it actually does come from the technocratic playbook as far as exporting prisoners to different countries. And we know that's happening to El Salvador. That's something that the Trump administration has been pushing. Bukele, seems to be on board with something like that, but it does all seem very dystopian. And, I understand why there's this frustration, and especially people on the right feel like something needs to be done about this illegal immigration problem. Immigration crossings are down, apparently, according to the Trump administration, to an all-time low right now.
They say zero.
Yeah. I don't think that's by coincidence. I do think that they have used fear to kind of thwart the masses and hordes that were coming. But again, guys, we have to remember that this is a situation that always has been a political football. It's something that both sides have created this problem. And ultimately, why are these people coming here in the first place? They're coming here because there's financial incentives, right? There are handouts, there are tax breaks and entitlements, there are things that they get from being here. And all these things that they get from being here are government granted, So at the end of the day, we don't have a problem necessarily with illegal immigrants. What we have a problem with is government handing out and creating these incentives for them to come in the first place. So again,
I think Milton Friedman said it best. You can't have open borders in a welfare state.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And I think if we kind of get back to the root cause of this, if we continue to strike the root rather than get caught up in the culture wars, then we're going to be on the right track. I think one thing to note is, during the Biden administration, the tail end there, when people were coming across the border from the southern border into America, they actually were being given gift cards that had hundreds of dollars on them for things like food and stuff. They were given phones, but they also had to be doing these biometric scanning. They had to have their irises scanned, their fingerprints, and all this stuff is going into a digital ID system for them. So there is, again, more to, what appears is going on. There is stuff happening behind the scenes that feels like is pushing us further and further into this technocratic surveillance state.
Sure. Let's take I know you got an hour with us. We're at the 33-minute mark, 33 for Ruckus out there. Let's take our live commercial break quickly, and you plug your stuff as well. But let me just plug Weaponized News. Go to weaponizednews.com. Get yourself we got the holograph sticker, the white sticker, and the clear background sticker here at weaponizednews.com. We got some books over there. Help support independent reporting and analysis. Jason, go ahead and plug your stuff. What's the best place for people to find you? I got your X account here, and then the Free Thought Project. Go ahead and plug anything you like.
So yeah, home base has been for over 10 years now, the freethoughtproject.com. At one point, we were, reaching millions of people. We've been censored, we've been shut down, but we still put out at least 2 articles every day. Check us out on our socials. We also have a great podcast, guys. We've had so many amazing podcast guests over the years: Ron Paul, Robert Malone, Ben Swan, Peter Schiff, Tom Woods. I mean, I could keep going. So check out our podcast. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But otherwise, jasonbassler.com. That's kind of my own website. And there, I'm actually offering a once a month, 1 hour online seminar for people, teaching them their rights. And I believe this is so important, especially right now with this federal takeover of police. I would assuming what Trump is saying is that actually happened, it's going to be rolled out to several cities. It could be yours. So it is important to know your rights, know how to confidently assert them, how to be polite but firm with police, and make sure that you're not going to be taken advantage of. So yeah, and I also wrote a book a couple years back, 3 Ways to Prepare for CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies. I'm also in that whole world of crypto, privacy coins. And so, yeah, if you feel like the CBDC threat is something that you're concerned about, you're not really sure exactly what to do to prepare for it, I'd love to walk you through that process. So check out the book on my website. But otherwise, yeah, I'm on social, Twitter, Jason Bassler1, or Instagram, jason.e.bassler. Those are my 2 biggest social media accounts.
All right, awesome. Go check out and follow Jason, as we do here at Weaponized News, to get all of our police state news. Isn't it wonderful? No, but you can push back. More dystopia here, though, now coming out of the First Lady Melania Trump. Let's take a look at this sheet. This video is from yesterday. Is this AI deepfake, or is this really her as she's launching the presidential AI challenge? Let's watch this short clip from Melania Trump and ask yourself, is this really her or a deepfake? I guess it's not even a deepfake. It would just be an AI.
Are you ready for an AI challenge? Take part in this nationwide initiative to discover, develop, and expand AI's potential. As someone who created an AI-powered audiobook and championed online safety through the Take It Down Act, I've seen firsthand the promise of this powerful technology. Now, I pass the torch of innovation to you. Just as America once led the world into the skies, we are poised to lead again, this time in the age of AI. The President's National Artificial Intelligence Challenge invites every student in America, from kindergarten to 12th grade, to unleash their imagination and showcase the spirit of American innovation. Our educators will guide and empower you through this process to build a brighter, stronger future for us all. Visit AI.gov to register today. Good luck.
AI.gov, Jason.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about this, so thanks for putting it on my radar. But yeah, the video definitely looked AI to me. Just looked a little too crisp, a little too clean. Not to say that they don't have amazing, production, and
they do. They have really raised the production value at the White House propaganda department there.
Propaganda mill.
as compared to the Biden administration, for sure. Some of their videos they put out, that's like Hollywood production quality value. I don't know how much they're spending. They gotta be spending a lot of money on this stuff, but very high quality production value for sure.
I don't feel like I've ever related to a young John Connor more than I do right now, man. This is getting
the meme, right? with a disgusted looking Sarah and John Connor upset about the fact that we're using AI.
Yeah. Humans, man. I don't know if we're gonna make it or not, but the fact that it is targeting the kindergarten through what, 3rd grade? Is that what she said?
Oh, I think K through 12, and then here it is. AI.gov is their website, and they launched it a while back, but they're filling it in. They got the AI action plan, executive orders, and so you can see here the agenda. They've been working at it since 2019. All these different executive orders from Trump are building this scientific dictatorship technocracy in front of our eyes, and the large majority still doesn't want to see it.
Sure. I mean, I guess that part we've been, feeling like has been coming for a while now. The Trump administration is only embracing that, obviously, as you said, the golden age. I know that's part of Trump's legacy. He really wants to put that on the mantle as far as one of his achievements. But I'm really kind of concerned about the whole idea that it's targeting kids, man. Like that. I mean, not to say that there are some. I use AI, occasionally. I help it with refining ideas, stuff like that. I do think there are positive uses to it. I'm not a Luddite, but at the same time, I don't know if we need to instigate it more. I don't know if we need to push that into children's hands. I think there's already enough kids who are having issues with too much time online, and there's obviously TikTok and these video apps that people get addicted to. It's these doom scrolling types of addictions that seem to be prevalent in society. But the problem is, guys, like when we use these AI tools, it's just dumbing us down even more than the public schools already are, right? We're outsourcing our creativity. We're outsourcing our critical thinking. We're even outsourcing now. I've been reading about these AI therapy bots that are helping people, kids, teenagers dealing with depression, anxiety, deal with their feelings. I don't know. I guess there's some mixed feelings there. I mean, I guess it's better than not talking to anybody. But at the same time, like if the ruling class and the status quo has already been this effective programming and engineering, social engineering the American public, what's going to happen when these AI bots are doing that for them? And they're already apt to believe everything that they say and trust them as, being their friend. I mean, I feel like we're setting ourselves up for a disaster here. This is the pot of boiling frogs that, we're basically looking at. So, yeah, concerning to say the least.
The DOD, Department of Defense, today they say DOD official says AI, other innovations will transform future war fighting. And we see Alex Karp at Palantir, CEO, say in the near future, America's going to fight a 3-front war against Russia, China, and Iran. And that's very concerning coming from that guy who stands to profit handsomely if such a war were to happen. So here it is from the Department of Defense. A little bit earlier today, they put this out. In a conflict scenario, artificial intelligence can assist the warfighter in discerning what is happening in the environment and better understand the tactics the adversary might use, thereby improving decision making. Emil Michael, Undersecretary for Defense and Research and Engineering. And it just goes on how they're going to integrate AI into the Defense Department.
Yeah, well, we are a bit in a arms race right now with developing countries like, China, who has obviously, come ahead quite a bit with technology. And it doesn't surprise me. This is kind of the narrative that they're sitting on right now, that this is all part of Trump's legacy, that this is all part of his plan is to make us one of the most strongest within tech and AI. And this is all kind of leaching out into this public-private partnership, which, is kind of what this technocracy is all about. We're seeing people like Palantir and Peter Thiel. Also,
I was going to ask you, do you have your tickets for the Peter Thiel Antichrist lecture series going on there at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco coming up here in a few weeks? Did you get your
it's sold out.
Tickets for that? It did sell out.
It's sold out, they say. But I just made a post. I don't know if you guys remember 2019, but the storm Area 51. Like we could do the same thing, San Francisco. Like let's just show up and let's crash it and see what they do. Not really, of course. FBI, if you are listening, I'd be there. If you guys want to organize something, but I'm not organizing it personally. But if something were to happen, it would be an interesting. I'm very curious what the security is going to be like there, not because I am trying to crash it, but just because what level of danger are they kind of assessing that Peter Thiel might be under? Like how much do they know? How many people online hate him? I don't know if that's really been quantified at this point. I think there's a lot of anger towards Palantir, and it's kind of brewing right now. But I want to be there. It's only a couple hours away. Maybe I will show up and just for shits and giggles, I'll try to live stream or something.
The Commonwealth Club in San Francisco. I thought it was just like, you know, a meme, but it turns out it's a real thing. And
it's a real thing, yeah.
Act 17 Collective is the name of the outfit that he's doing the lecture under. The Antichrist. The Antichrist. And so this is on the back of his interview on the podcast with the New York Times talking about the Antichrist as well. So do you believe they're so delusional that they truly believe in the transhumanism idea of transcending death and living forever by uploading their consciousness into the mainframe computer, a la, you know, Ray Kurzweil? Do you believe? Do
Yes.
you believe they really believe that? I believe they believe it. I don't believe it, but I believe they believe it.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's batshit insane, you know, of course. I mean, it really doesn't make sense to the average person, but when you have these billions and billions of dollars, these people are egomaniacs, right? Like this is just a big, it's a contest between these people.
And they know they've done all these wrongdoings and evils, and they don't want to meet their maker, so they want to try to live forever and not have to, you know, face judgment for what they've done.
Sure, there's that, and there is a lot of overlap. I know I already mentioned it, but with the eugenics movement, a lot of these people are closet eugenicists, you know, and so they believe that they are.
Well, didn't they just update the name to transhumanism? Isn't that essentially the 21st century rebranding of eugenics?
It feels that way, but I don't know if there's still enough people that understand kind of the threat and the bigger picture, the overlaying picture of what's going on. But no, it is certainly creepy. And the fact that they even talk about it so openly, you think they would, I mean, they do, they talk about it behind closed doors as well. But somebody like Peter Thiel, he's so untouchable. You know, I actually just put out a tweet today talking about his unlimited power. Do you remember that scene in Star Wars when Emperor Palpatine's unlimited power? It's like a meme, right? Well, like that's kind of where Peter Thiel is at this point, because he has so much money, he has so much influence. He's basically just running roughshod over our lives, creating and social engineering.
Our Vice President JD Vance is his man, like literally his man, right? So if something were to happen to Trump, you have a literal direct line. It's already a direct line, but even nothing is obscured by Trump. Then a direct line from Peter Thiel to JD Vance to President of America here.
Absolutely. No, I mean, and not to mention Peter Thiel's connections to big tech, you know, and Trump's seemingly pivot to embracing all these big tech companies. As we saw at his inauguration, you know, all of a sudden there's all these tech leaders there.
Quietly, Bill Gates yesterday went to DC to have a meeting there with the Trump administration. Here's the report out of Gizmodo there. Bill Gates meets with Trump at the White House. Did they talk about global health or their old friend Jeffrey Epstein? That's a good sub-headline they put there.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is all just left-right posturing, right? These guys all work together. There's always collusion amongst the ruling class. To think that there's anything different, to think that Trump actually had any issue with Bill Gates ever is delusional. I mean, these are all deep state actors, man. And these are the faces, the public front-facing actors that they let us know about. I mean, there's plenty of people behind the scenes as well. So it doesn't surprise me. Unfortunately, we tried to warn people, you know, we're screaming from the rooftops, like, there is no winner in this race, guys. You know, we're better off just not voting for anybody. And I know that sounds taboo to a lot of people because they feel like, well, Kamala would have been worse. Really? At this point, do you really feel like Kamala would be worse?
If Kamala was in there, the right wingers would be screaming about National Guard on the streets. But with Trump in there, mum's the word.
Indeed.
So we see they use the pacification techniques here. If our guy's in there, whatever tyranny they do is perfectly fine. It's our guy. It's what we voted for, they say. But if the other side does it, then it's bloody murder. But it's all bad on both sides. And we, the people here, tax-paying citizens, are suffering the brunt of this insane surveillance technocracy police state they're rolling out right in front of everybody for our own public safety. This news came out today. FDA rescinds emergency use authorization for the miracle, for the bat miracles here. And so I didn't even know it still was under emergency, but that's what the Hill is reporting. So there is no more emergency use authorization for that wonderful medicine that cured everyone. Also, the CDC director, who was just hired weeks ago, has been fired. This woman, Susan Morans, she is out along with others at the CDC. It's been announced today. So there is a shakeup going on there in public health. I don't know what I want to be Maha, but I just can't trust any of these people.
Absolutely, man. And you shouldn't. You should be vigilant, just because, Kennedy has a strong, vocab, and he could speak well. I don't think we should just, turn a blind eye. Unfortunately, I've seen him speak. I feel like I want to believe his heart's in the right place. I want to believe that he's sincere, but then we see things like suggesting the measles vaccines and suggesting these wearables, right? So for more data tracking. We talk about what else is there? The fluoride. Yeah, that's another thing. Right before Trump came back into office, the EPA actually was ordering a full removal nationwide of fluoride, and the Trump administration has put the brakes on that. It's actually appealing that ruling now. So we need to get fluoride out of our water, and that's just another example of why and how we can't believe Kennedy, and that there is some type of Make America Healthy Again movement. And same thing with the PFASs, the microplastics, all those things they're a big problem, man. They're all of these forever chemicals. They're all over the place. They're embedded in almost every aspect of our lives, in our body, in our brains, in our reproductive organs. Yet the Trump administration actually rescinded a order from the Biden administration to pump the brakes on those as well. I've heard various reasons why, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of regulation in any sense, but it feels like something needs to happen as far as the corporatism going on with all this, release of toxins into our environment with these chemical companies.
It's part of the transhumanist agenda. There's going to be anti-Trump protests. They're planned across the United States this weekend for Labor Day. Here's the Labor Day 2025 Workers Over Billionaires. And it's funny to me, it's the same oligarchy that's been there under a Democrat, Biden, or a Republican, Trump. It's the same oligarch billionaires, but the left-wingers only get their feathers up in a roar if it's a Republican. But actually, hey, workers, it's the same oligarchs, no matter what political puppet there is in the White House. Indeed. But they're gonna have big. I mean, they got look at all these left-wing organizations, and there's a lot of them, man. And so they're all organizing there to be big protests. There may be violence. I hope not. Obviously, we don't want violence, but it seems like always the feds go in there provocateur violence, and then we have a perfect excuse. Hey, there's violent outbreaks. We've been reporting. They're training specialized units in the National Guard for civil unrest, for emergency response. And so a big anti-Trump rallies all over the nations and major cities. They go and, throw a brick through a window, start a riot. And then, hey, we need National Guard to get, public safety back under control. Indeed. That is foreboding, and it very well could be weaponized against us if, the tides turn and the powers that want that to be the case. Unfortunately, I would have a lot more respect for these people if it wasn't just an anti-Trump protest, it was an anti-government protest, right? And I think, Sam, you hit the nail on the head there. Unfortunately, this is performative a lot of times by the left as well. You also have to question yourself, like, how much does these protests change? What exactly do they do? I think the left has gotten a little too hung up on just these ideas of protests. They turn out giant crowds. The No Kings. They do. And sometimes over here in Fresno, I went to it. Sometimes it can be effective.
Sure.
But hey, I like the idea of let's all organize, go to our city council and tell them we don't want the flock cameras.
Indeed. Yeah. And I'm not trying to poo-poo the idea of protesting. I think that there is some value there. I think it's um, a visual representation of how many people are just as disillusioned as you are. And so I think that sometimes can rally the troops, get people motivated. But I don't think that's the end game. I don't think that's where everything is going to change. I think that there needs to be more action than that. In fact, we need not people to be reactive, but we need people to be more proactive and trying to, show up at their city councils, trying to do things like civil disobedience that will kind of move the ball forward. And we also got to remember, as you were saying, this is something that should be noted that, back in 2010, 2011, the Occupy Wall Street movement and the Tea Party movement were both very much active, and they were both kind of focused at the federal government and their grievances with corporatism. But not only that, the tax code and the tax issues during that time period after the bailouts. And both of those movements got co-opted. Both of them got co-opted. Unfortunately, they became watered down, and they started the beginning of what
Trump killed
turned
the
into being
Tea
the
Party.
culture wars.
Trump killed the Tea Party.
Right.
For sure.
And if you look at some of the Google searches during that time, it went from being, what is the Federal Reserve to like, why are police racist, and started really amplifying the culture war stuff instead. So this is, again, how they divide us, But I do have appreciation for anybody who is speaking up and standing up and speaking out. I think more people need to do that, even if I don't necessarily agree with all their views or their beliefs or their economics and stuff like that. We all need to be vocal. And I think that's how we end up living in the type of society and communities that we really want to live in.
We got like 4 minutes left here. Are we going to war with Venezuela? Is America going to overthrow Venezuelan government as we see Trump launching the military to South America to fight the drug war, continuing here now, and putting a $50 million bounty on the president of Venezuela's head, Maduro? And now we see today in the news, CBS News reports Venezuela deploys warships, drones after U.S. sends guided missile destroyers to the region.
Yeah, what's so funny is they're sending 4,000 more troops, I just read a couple days ago, to Latin America to combat these cartels. Yet there was just a story that was published by Forbes over the past 10 years. The DEA has been laundering money for the cartels upwards to $20 million. So at the same time, one hand's doing one thing, another hand's doing another thing. We all know that the CIA and DEA are basically
Everyone's running it all. They're running the big show. I see it as getting rid of the competition.
Absolutely. And the excuse for it too, of course, was that if we're not the people laundering the money, well, it's going to happen some other way. So we might as well be involved in the process. And as
Victoria Nuland and a bunch of them were saying, hey, don't worry about all this money we're sending to Ukraine to kill Russians. It's coming back here to America.
Yeah. But it does worry me because this is amplifying two things that Trump seems to have a very much a penchant for, which is the drug war and the war on terror. And it's kind of combining the two by turning these, so-called cartel members into terrorists, designating them as terrorists. But, I think we've all learned our lesson, and this is going to be where I kind of shine my libertarian spotlight on the issue, is that prohibition just doesn't work. It creates black markets, and that is why these cartels exist in the first place. So if we wanted to actually change that, a border wall isn't going to do it. More authoritarianism, top-down government solutions never work. What we need to do is end the drug war and legalize drugs. And I know that might sound crazy to some people, but that is the only solution. We can't even keep drugs out of prisons. So how are we going to keep it out of our country?
Finally, in the last minute here, tell us more about Know Your Rights. How are people taking that? Do people that you're encountering know their rights? And what is knowing our rights? How's that going to help us stand up against government tyranny?
Well, unfortunately, most people don't know their rights. It's not something that we're taught in public schools, and it's not something that a lot of people seek out as well, because it can be confusing, it can be convoluted. A lot of rights are different in different states. Of course, we do have the Bill of Rights. We do have the right to always film in public. to film police employees and public officials. So first and foremost, always do that. Do not consent to any searches or seizures, guys. Always ask if you're being detained or if you're free to go. That's kind of the way that you could ask the officer if you are currently being arrested or not. So that's very important. But ultimately, what this does, it does protect our well-being, our family, our persons, our property, because even if the law enforcement officer does violate our rights, as long as somebody's filming that and we are applying our rights, oftentimes, not always, we can find some type of way to find legal remedy within the courts. Now, the courts aren't completely compromised. There are a lot of issues where they are. And of course, when it comes to the idea of holding police accountable, that's very rare. But ultimately, there are ways to recuperate from your losses if you are abused or have any type of rights violations placed upon you. So it is very important. And jasonbassler.com. My next one's going to be September 24th. I say it's an hour long class, but it's closer to about an hour and a half with the live Q&A at the end. And I go over everything, guys, every possible thing you can imagine. Gun rights at checkpoints, what to do at TSA if you get asked for separate screening. I mean, every possible scenario, even if you get caught up in some type of protest and you're on the freeway and you're surrounded, your car's surrounded, a lot of people would have no clue what to do in that situation. And I go over all that in detail to make sure that you and your family are safe. So I know we also talk about solutions, about the police violence epidemic that's going on, and ultimately just how to assert your rights confidently.
All right, Jason, thank you very much. jasonbassler.com. And again, give him a follow on the X. You can follow the links there and find all of his work. He has the link tree, jasonbassler.com. Thank you very much for
Thanks,
your
Sam.
time today, sir. As always, everybody, do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. We'll be back here tomorrow.